Mexico City, a mega metropolis. Over 20 million souls packed into what was once a volcanic lake basin, where the Aztecs made their aquatic empire. Today, there is an overwhelming abundance of neighborhoods, from posh to historic to gritty. So where to go first? If you want to ease into town, the best place to begin are the trendy, hip neighborhoods of Roma and Condesa, full of tree-lined sidewalks, stylish murals, and cutesy cafes. A good place to start your culinary journey is in the brightly decorated Lalo, almost always bustling with the neighborhood's upwardly mobile.
If you're familiar with Mexican breakfast, you might know about huevos rancheros, the classic.
Fried eggs delicately laying on hot corn tortillas, laced with black bean and smothered in salsa.
But if you want to go real Mexican, like OG, get some huevos con escamoles, made with ant larvae and pupae. The escamole is mixed in with a little avocado, and of course the huevos, the eggs. But the flavor is nutty and buttery, with a texture similar to cottage cheese. In fact, it's a great substitute to cheese. If you want to go no dairy and add a little more protein to your breakfast, bam, it hits the spot.
The original Mexicans, the Mexica, didn't have many of our modern sources of protein. Cows, pigs, chicken. They had to make do with smaller options. But the Mexica did have a couple items the old world lacked, including something you may have in your home right now. Hernan Cortes called it the divine drink which builds up resistance and fights fatigue. Oh yeah, drink. You see, the odd word chocolate comes from the Nahuatl word xocolotl, which means bitter drink. And here in Mexico City, they have mucho museum of chocolate, full of all kinds of chocolatey goodness, history, and art. One of the curators, Ana Rita, takes me around and drops insight after insight. Who knew the history of chocolate was so profound?
Let me ask you this, when did chocolate and humanity first come together?
I would definitely have to say it happened in Mexico, or more Mesoamerica, which was before, you know?
Okay.
And it must have been about 5,000 years ago.
Wow.
At least.
Wow.
Yes. It's like a cornerstone for the culture in Mexico, Guatemala, and all of Mesoamerican countries, because it's parallel to corn. So it's a staple food. And
it's a staple.
Yeah, definitely.
So how was chocolate first used and conceived in Mesoamerica?
That's a big question, you know, but from what we know, it was used together with a combination of ingredients, of flavorings, corn definitely because of the power of energetic properties, and also with several roots, spices, like vanilla, for example, another thing that comes from Mexico, chili powder, of course.
Chocolate and vanilla come from Mexico?
Chocolate and vanilla, right.
Wow. It's blowing my mind.
Yeah, right.
The two most popular ice cream flavors
Can you imagine?
come from Mexico.
Right.
Wow. How did the Aztecs use chocolate?
Well, they used it for everything, from birth to death. It was not only a treat for its flavor, but also a medicine to prevent and to cure diseases. So you would mix it with, the Aztecs had a vast knowledge of all the herbs, the roots, even the minerals in their surroundings, and they would mix it with different kinds of flavorings in order to cure the diseases or to celebrate a special event. Among others, as you know, the Aztecs used human sacrifices, so chocolate was compared to the blood of the sacrificed Because of it's a vital liquid, as blood is a vital liquid. So the cocoa pod was compared to the human heart. So it has a very tight relationship also with all the rituals in the Mexicans' religion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goes deep.
It goes very deep, and it continues to be deep, even to this day, you know, to this globalized day. It still has a very tight connection to family life and to religious life in some occasions. For example, in every baptism in Mexico, all over the country, you're probably gonna serve hot chocolate. Or in First Communions, that's like the traditional thing you will serve. So things continue, even though they're not as noticeable anymore.
Interesting.
Yes.
It's
yes.
traces of the Aztec life
Definitely.
sprinkled into modern day
Definitely.
rituals.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It is.
My favorite room in the museum? This one. A full chocolate immersion. After showing me around, Anna Rita leads me to the kitchen, where I get to see how you make it old school style. Chocolate is ground, add a little cinnamon, some elbow grease, some sugar, let the lady take over, and eureka! Now it's time to taste it. I mean really taste chocolato.
Fantastico. Wow, that is like no chocolate I've had before. Don't get me wrong, a nice piece of Belgian chocolate is something to be desired, but to go to the real source and to cook something, to prepare something from the basic, really is a whole different ballgame. It's like the difference between getting a fantastic jar of spaghetti sauce in the supermarket and actually having an old Italian grandmother cook you something from scratch.
Sacred to the Aztecs and too darn remarkable to be extinguished by the Spanish. But here's a thought. Perhaps the Europeans did successfully rip the sacred out of chocolate, just as they destroyed much of Mexica culture. With the introduction of sugar and milk, everything changed. Here I am a couple years back visiting a premium chocolate factory in Belgium. At this point, chocolate is to me a sweet treat, an indulgence, perhaps even a vice. Yeah! Quite a rebranding from the divine bitter drink of the Aztecs. But hold your horses, world. The original is still thriving in Mexico.